Today we have a crazy entitled parent story of a mother who can't even fake sympathy when a member of the family gets a devastating diagnosis. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, I think my mom expects to move in with me when she retires. First, I, female 41, want to say my mom, female 63, is ambitious, has had her own business and at some point had 2 day and evening businesses. She works hard and was our main breadwinner when I was growing up, lived also with dad, grandma, and brother. I never really had emotional connections with my mother. I always longed for one. I feel like I should come to terms that I'll have the bare minimum of it. I think she's emotionally immature. Most of her life has had anger issues, smokes cigarettes literally nonstop, and drinks every day, sometimes starting at lunch. I don't think she's an alcoholic, but I might be wrong. It's kinda socially acceptable to drink every day where I'm from originally. A few years ago, she sold our apartment to pay off her second business debts, and didn't tell me for 2 to 3 years at least, thinking I might not want to visit maybe? She said she also doesn't know why she kept that information. She admitted that the first business is good, but uses money to cover for second businesses and eventually shut it down. But still lives in the huge building/hotel with a restaurant and is trying to sell it. She said we might be paying debts after she dies, but I said no way will I ever pay for anything when I'm a stay-at-home mom working barely part-time from home. She had asked me to move back and be the manager for said business when it was open, but I refused right away because I knew in 2 weeks we will be arguing if something isn't her way. Plus, I was right to guess it wouldn't be successful for long. She forced my brother to work weekends there for years, and he had to travel so much and not spend time with his girlfriend. Currently has 1 loan and insurance on it if she passes. She hints to help us if she sells the building, and I realize I don't want her to think she can pay off our or part of our mortgage and move in. She asked how much is to rent a place near me, think tourist US area. I said a lot. I've offered her to come maximum 6 months here and 6 months in Eastern Europe, basically close to my brother, to buy with the money an apartment closer to him, or a house to do her favorite thing, gardening. She starts crying that she's going to be alone. I said, well, meet someone. And she doesn't want a man to have her as a maid again, traditional gender bias in said country. She longs to see grandkids and participate in parties, and when she comes and I take her to said parties, she's not happy because she doesn't speak the language. I don't know what to do to help her be happy. I also tried clearing the past with her and asked her to apologize for some things. But in her mind, she was never wrong and makes fun of me saying that I feel traumatized. Some examples of that are, I was regularly beaten as a kid, slapped as a teen, yelled at every day, even for getting a B at school. I was a good kid, yells to me about the smallest things in every setting and in front of everyone. I guess my dad had a pill addiction and drank a lot and ended himself, but I doubt it was only him at fault. She was yelling constantly to him and alienating him from his family, so I think maybe he couldn't take it? No one let me see the death note he left. I was only told he loved us and had mental illness? Gives me a gift of cleaning my yard and buying some plants but won't stop, and makes bigger and bigger plans and wants to rearrange my furniture while visiting. Complains about my lifestyle and my brothers and how I raise my kids and how he has no kids. Talks against family members for no real reason and alienates me subconsciously from them, sometimes for years. She was mocking my appearance, like saying I had a big nose, big ears, hanging butt, and if we both lost weight, mine would still hang like my dad's and hers won't. Didn't let me work until 20 years old because I wanted to save and buy clothes I actually liked. I was late home once as a teenager and was because of a SA. She called me a tramp and kicked me out for a bit. Oh yeah, and ripped my new clothes, the only hoodie I actually liked, and got to choose. She tended to rip and cut people's clothes if she was mad at them. When she's over, I ask her to watch the kids. She literally sits down and watches them, usually only calls online to see them, not me. Comes to visit grandkids and tells me to hit them, which ticked me off and told her everything I wanted her to apologize for, but she never thinks she's wrong and told me to be thankful I was born. Forced me to not study art and do economy in high school and college, so I barely graduated college because I really wanted to study something else. I admit she did support me financially until 20 to 21, but I wish I could work earlier. I finally taught myself some art and use it in my current home part-time job. Soon to be full-time job. Before I had kids, I had a good career, but now hubby does most work outside. When I started my business, my mom at first mocked me and yelled at me that I don't know what I'm doing, but now seems proud. She only ever showed any respect to me after my business started. My husband likes her, does everything she wants. My friends love her, and I can't help but feel like I'm an ungrateful jerk. They both said everything she did, including physical abuse, made me the strong, successful person I am now. Like what? I plan to raise my kids better, and hopefully she and my husband don't guilt me to have her live here. I really tried to get away all these years. Please tell me the truth. Am I obligated to something, or am I being ungrateful? OP's obviously not obligated to a darn thing, and I'm gonna be honest, even if they were the best parent and the most supportive parent, they're still not technically obligated to anything. Obligation is like a personal level thing. Do you personally feel you're obligated? And from what OP described, I think most people would say, no, not in this case. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, for those of you that have gone no contact with a parent, what was your final straw? My mother and I have always had a struggled relationship. She's got horrible narcissistic and controlling tendencies, was an alcoholic while I was growing up, and was very much an all-for-show parent. She acted one way behind closed doors, but around family and friends, she was a model parent and will tell you straight to your face that she was the best mother ever, when in reality, she was doing the bare minimum to raise both me and my sister. When I turned 18, I moved out and went through long periods of not talking to her at all. When I became pregnant with my daughter a few years ago, I tried my best to salvage our relationship so my daughter could grow up knowing my mom's side of the family without drama. And we became as close as we can be given our history. I'm now pregnant with twins, and I'm at the point where I honestly do not know how much longer I can handle dealing with her and everything that surrounds her. She acts as if she's just entitled to do whatever or say whatever she wants because she's going to be a grandma again. If you confront her about it, she throws a pity party or gets super angry because she obviously can't be excited for us. Since finding out I was pregnant, she has shared the news of the pregnancy with her whole family before we had the chance to share ourselves, shared the genders before we had a chance to share ourselves. She came to our gender reveal party, and within 5 minutes of us cutting the cake, she was found on her phone in a corner at the party telling the whole world. We had no idea she was going to do this, but obviously should have known given how she outed the pregnancy. Acts as if she's entitled to every single piece of medical info, and will call me non-stop while I'm in doctor's appointments for updates. If I don't answer in a timely manner, then she'll start blowing my partner's phone up. Told me, don't think I'm going to be the one throwing you a baby shower, only to offer to help my partner's mother and sister when she found out they were throwing one for us. This was done all for show so she could look good in front of his family. Asked me to apply for a store credit card so she could use the new card discount of 30% to buy us a baby stroller. We never once asked her to do this and told her numerous times we have the big purchases covered, but the stroller is what will be out in public the most and gives her the opportunity to tell everyone she bought it for us. She did the exact same thing when she bought my daughter's stroller. Every time I had the stroller out, she had to gloat about how she was such a great grandmother, and didn't she make a good stroller choice? Offered to help watch my daughter while I was in the hospital recovering from a C-section, only to schedule a 3-week vacation during this time a few days ago. Asked if I'd be willing to schedule my C-section at 34 weeks, so the babies, both boys, could have the same birthday as my late grandfather. Provided other various dates of family members' birth dates or special events such as wedding anniversaries that would not work for the baby's birthdays because she does not want them to share a date with that specific person. I could seriously go on, but these are some of the worst that come to mind right off the bat. I'm seriously thinking about throwing in the towel and telling her I can't be involved with her anymore due to the sheer fact of she causing me so much stress and anxiety, and I don't think I can handle her continuing for the remainder of my kids' lives. Has anyone ever cut a parent off during such a significant time in your life? If so, how did you go about it? I guess I'd like to offer a consideration and say, how many people really cut off their parents out of their lives and it's not in a significant time in their life? Realistically, I think you have to know your final straw when it just gets unbearable and they don't respect you or any of your boundaries, and they're just constantly making your life harder no matter what you do or say. Our next story is, how do I deal with my sister's father? My sister's 14. Dad left pretty early on in my sister's life. I want to say around 3 or 4 years old. Recently, he's been trying to come back, but he made it obvious very quickly that he isn't the best parent. Every day he stops by at 6 in the morning to drop my sister off at school. Despite her constantly telling him that she doesn't need him to do that, he does it anyway. He announces his arrival by calling my sister's phone. And when that doesn't work, which it wouldn't since she probably turns her phone off the night before, he goes straight to calling either our mother or the house phone. This all came to a head one day when our mom, who is also quite entitled, expressed rage at my sister for her dad's constant phone calls. I told her that that doesn't make any sense at all, and she responded, as she often does, that she's the parent and that I'm the child. The next day, my sister came home from school and told us that her dad hit her for receiving texts from mom saying that he needs to stop calling the house phone. This exploded into an argument between my mom and my sister that basically ended with my sister telling mom that she isn't being a good mother and my mother telling her to stay in her place. I, 19, was and still am completely freaking powerless. I'm tired of seeing my sister so upset at the end of every day, and I'm ticked off at my mom for doing nothing. So what can I do? The thought of filing a restraining order has floated around in my mind. Would I need my mother for that? Is that a completely dumb idea? Would confronting him be a better idea? I don't know what to do. I feel so freaking useless and I want to help my sister any way I can. Honestly, I think the best way to help out, or at least try to, is just calling whatever authorities can handle this, whether it's like a CPS or something like that. Especially considering you have multiple people that are going to be able to corroborate your story and the victim herself. Honestly, I'm grateful that this girl even has somebody like OP that wants to try to look out for them. This next story is, Mom expects me to fully support myself financially, but also pay her bills. I've recently turned 18 and I'm in my second semester of college at a state university. Going into college, my mom promised financial help. Luckily, with scholarship and a few other factors, my school had been paid for. Now, the issue is that my mom lives for free in my grandparents' second home. She only pays for the bills, like water, internet, electric, etc. Additionally, she makes 6 figures a year and receives extensive financial support from her long-term boyfriend. Since I've gone to college, she doesn't speak to me, offer financial support, or help working out things regarding my financial aid. Today, she sent me a bill she expects me to pay each month while I'm at school, which consists of my portion of car insurance, phone bill, and other living expenses, coming out to $250 a month. She also told me to prepare to pay the bills when I come home this summer, since she plans to spend it at her boyfriend's house. I can't afford this at all and don't know what to do. I don't understand why she expects me to pay her when I know she has the money and doesn't even personally pay these bills my grandparents and her boyfriend do. I just would appreciate advice on what to do. I mean, the bottom line is you have to be able to just say no. I would even tell the grandparents and maybe they would put some pressure on her as well. But really, whatever you do, you just have to say no. I mean, don't even go home during the holidays. Our next story is, when is enough enough? Yesterday, I needed to get some groceries and one of my friends, a man, is my neighbor, so I asked him for help. He took me there and I might have been naive because I honestly didn't think anything of it and also didn't think I would find anyone I know, let alone a family member. Well, when I'm almost done, I'm walking down one of the aisles and see my cousin. I greeted him, didn't tell him who my friend was because I already knew it would be a problem and they would stalk him. And I was correct. Not 4 hours later, my mom starts texting me and calling me aggressively, saying that if I don't pick up her call, she will come to my apartment. My cousin told his family and they called my mom and she went crazy. She said it was urgent, that she needed to see me and that we were just going to talk because she needed to understand. I'm still so confused that I don't know how to handle the situation. But I said no, and she told me that if I really wanted a relationship with them, how was that going to be possible if I didn't respond to texts or calls? I don't want to be scolded and blamed at 26. I've had enough of this BS for years. My dad also texted me. I want to respond, but I don't know what to tell him. He's hurt and offended that I wouldn't accept his help. And it's because I know it comes with a price, whether they want to admit it or not. And of course, they wouldn't. Told me that whether I liked it or not, our names in the Muslim community mean someone, and it's important to keep it clean, and to not repeat what I did, avoid letting a male friend accompanying me for groceries, just avoid being with a male friend altogether, I can't keep on doing this anymore. I'm seriously considering moving out of the country because I just don't have the patience for any family member and their BS anymore. I feel like I should have been physically abused to be able to move out, and even then it wouldn't. I have been bombarded and told that I'm doing something bad, that I'm selfish, that it's 7 against 1 and how come I'm the only one right, that this is not the correct way to do this, escaping, and that they want to find a solution that works for both parties. I tried talking to them for months and was always scolded for it at 25 years old. How else was I supposed to leave? I just don't understand. Not because I wasn't physically abusive, which I wouldn't deserve either way because I was an obedient child, doesn't mean I don't have the right to decide my life. I don't want to go back. I don't want to be a part of that community that has like 10 people. I don't want to be limited with what I can or can't do. We even went to one of the best professionals in the country and they didn't like him because he didn't understand our culture and religion, but then he suggested to travel to another country and get someone else's opinion on the matter because he doesn't trust professionals here. I talked to the sheik and I didn't feel like he gave me genuine advice. What I got from him is that I need to get my parents' blessings to do anything in life for it to be successful. And if they don't want it, that even if it doesn't make us happy, to oblige our parents because God will reward us in the afterlife. And the afterlife is what truly matters. I don't know how to keep a relationship with them and handle the situation and be at peace. Is there a way? So I think it's kind of just a cultural clash. OP obviously wants to be their own person and live their own life, and personally that's something I cannot fault them for. But when you're facing this culture and all of these people who collectively agree that you have to obey your parents, and from what it sounds like, also be severely limited as a woman, what can you do besides leave if you want to live your own life? I feel like it's a matter of time OP tools around there long enough for them to just fall and feel trapped by these people, or they keep fighting for that independence. This next story is Toddlers at the Gym. I'm currently visiting my boyfriend as we do long distance, so I've been using the gym at his complex. It's a small gym with just the necessary for a decent and pleasant workout. However, it hasn't been too pleasant since there's two dads separately, not a couple, who bring their toddlers between 3 and 5 years old to the gym. The kids are running and crying and playing around during the whole time while the parents work out. They are touching everything, playing or trying to play with the equipment at the gym, leaving their toys around, licking stuff, crying and screaming and basically being kids. While I understand it's fair, parents still want to take care of themselves, I think gyms are not a safe place for a toddler. And of course, it's not pleasant to work out surrounded by crying kids running around. Besides, there's a lot of at-home exercise equipment and routines people can do, which is what I'll start doing since tomorrow, since I don't want to end up stepping on a kid or being involved in an accident with one because of their negligent parents. I would like to look for second opinions since I'm not a kids person. I like them and play with them, but wouldn't like to have kids myself, so I would like to know if I'm in the wrong here. I'd be curious, I'm assuming this is like an apartment type thing, if them bringing their toddlers into the complex is actually allowed? Because if so, you're not a Karen and you're not a bad person for reporting that if they're not supposed to be there. Toddlers aren't supposed to be in the gym for a very good reason. If, for whatever reason, they are allowed to bring their toddlers with them and this behavior is just allowed to go unchecked, probably is for the best just to look elsewhere because yeah, I wouldn't want to be the one to end up with some irate parent yelling at me because they didn't watch their kids well enough and there was some kind of accident. Our next story is, my own mother can't fake sympathy when she finds out a member of my family is terminal. Background and context. I have another post in my profile outlining several things my mother has done throughout my life, but for simplicity, I will post them here as well. My mother and I butted heads a lot when I was living with her, and continue to do so well after I moved out. In fact, it seemed to get worse once I moved out, as she realized I was no longer under her thumb. Some of her near daily threats and comments I would get were including, but not limited to, answering the phone by saying, "Well, I'm not dead yet. Not that you would know because you never bothered to call me," or other threats of self-deletion even if it had been less than 24 hours since we'd last spoken. Threatened to tie me to a chair and make me watch as she burned every book I owned page by page when she knew books were my safe space and only outlet. threats of making me go to outings or family events naked if she didn't approve a part of my outfit, and I refused to change it. Was told weekly if I dyed my hair an unnatural color, my head would be shaved, eyebrows included. If a non-traditional earlobe piercing was in my body, she would find it and rip it out. If I got a tattoo of any kind, she would let me pick if she burned it off or cut it out of my skin. Mind you, all of this and more was said with such seriousness that I still haven't even chalk dyed my hair in fear that she would find out and shave my head. One last point to note is that due to a series of events when my dear husband and I first started dating, she refused to allow him into her home or speak to him for 2 years and only let up after our 3rd anniversary when it became clear he was sticking around. On to the story. Due to a series of events leading up to early November 2022, I decided in late November to early December to go no contact with her. I sent her a long email saying this was for my mental health, so we might have a possibility of a relationship in the future. I told her when she was ready to discuss things like adults, I would be more than happy to sit down with her and talk it out. She flipped out and did several manipulative and passive-aggressive things to try and force me to contact her, including sending me a passive-aggressive email on my birthday and showing up to my dad's work to cry and claim she has no idea as to why I won't talk to her. Side note, my parents have been divorced since I was 2, and she spent the last 24 years kicking him under the bus as hard as she can, every chance she can get. In August of 2023, my mother's husband, I refuse to call this man my stepfather, his younger brother was admitted to the ICU and wasn't expected to make it. My younger brother, we share the same mom but different dads, was extremely close with his uncle and beside himself, so I dropped everything and ran to the hospital to help where I could. I ended up talking with my mother a few times as I felt obligated to comfort her as well. And I felt saddened as this family member had been one of the only ones from that part of the family who didn't ignore my existence and actually got to know me. Over the next 48 hours, he unfortunately passed, and I ended up spending a few days going over to my mother's to support the family and to the funeral. During this time, my mother asked if we could talk and try to work things out. We ended up meeting up at a local Timmy's for coffee, and a lot of things were said from my end about how I'd felt over the years. From her end, it was a lot of, well, I don't remember it that way, or, well, I'm sorry you got upset by that. I knew that was the closest I was going to get to an apology from her, so I took it, wanting to give her one more chance. I agreed to meet up for tea once a month, and only to approach surface-level things until we were both ready for deeper conversations. For the first month, this went well, and then things started popping up that she wanted me to attend, and before I knew it, I was seeing her several times a week. All of this came to a head this month. I was over at a friend's on Sunday playing D&D when I got a text from my husband asking if I could come right home after the game as he needed me. I rushed home right after to find out that my husband's best friend has terminal cancer. This friend is like a brother to my husband and is closer to him than his own sibling is. His friend, we'll call him M, was the one to ensure my husband didn't starve in the years following up to when we met, and even helped him get back to our province where he met me. I consider M one of the reasons why my husband and I ended up together. Needless to say, I texted my mother that night as I was supposed to get tea with her the next day, and my husband needed me more. I made it clear that a close family member was very sick and we were trying to process it. I was not flaking on her. I got back a single letter text, K. A week later, I received a phone call from her and the following conversation ensued. Mother said, "My husband and I are putting our wills together, what do you want?" I replied, "What?" She says, "What do you want left to you in my will?" I reply, "Oh, well, I want Nana's china cabinet." She says, "Well, that goes without saying. She left it to you 10 years ago when she died." I said, "It does? Because I've been asking you for it for the last 10 years, and you said I could only get it when you decide I'm mature enough to have it." She said, "Oh, well, what else?" I said, I don't know." Proceeds to list off 2 other small items. A necklace I gave her when I was a kid and a set of wine glasses she got as a wedding gift when she married my father, which she then proceeded to tell me at least one of them was smashed. Oh, and Nana. She replies, "What?" I tell her, "I would like the small amount of Nana's ashes you have in your china cabinet." Mother replies, "Oh, well, you'll have to work that out with your younger brother." Long pause. "So how is husband doing?" I said, "Not good. He is beside himself." We don't have a lot of information yet, but it's bad. Terminal. Right now, we're just waiting to see how long he has left. Mother, disinterested, said, well, if you think of anything else for the will, let me know within the week. After that, I quickly said goodbye and hung up. She didn't even realize for the next 9 days that I had stopped reaching out entirely, at which point she started calling and texting me several times a day, all going unanswered and unread. Every time I see her pop up on my phone, my stomach twists in anger and sadness, realizing she couldn't be bothered to fake sympathy when she knew a member of my family was dying. After 19 years of demanding I treat her husband like family from the moment he came into my life, she couldn't even phone it in for my sake, and my husband and I have been together for 6.5 years now. So, would I be the jerk for ghosting her and just pretending I don't have a mother? I feel like I shouldn't give her any other chances, but the guilt is making me question my decision. Kind of harkening back to the other story, this is also a very significant time in someone's life, and I don't think OP would be in the wrong for ghosting her. I think, honestly, I would be afraid that she would be vindictive and try to leave everything out of the will, but at the same time, is it really worth it? Our next story is, my girlfriend's mother wants me and my girlfriend to pay for her horses. So my girlfriend's mom bought her 2 horses when she was younger, and they still have them. Her mom refuses to feed them or take care of them. We've been paying for all their needs like hoof care, vet bills, and feed for over a year now. The only thing that we don't pay for is the water and where they are, at my girlfriend's mom's house that has land. We've been trying to get them out of her name and into my girlfriend's and my name, but she refuses to give them to us or sell. We made her a reasonable offer for the 2 horses, but she refuses. She says she won't take any less than $50,000 for the 2 of the horses. The 2 horses aren't worth that much. They aren't rodeo horses or show horses and have never been on a ranch. We're still working on breaking them from being spooked by simple things, like rocks, trees swaying, and other little things. Where they are, the pen is falling apart because it's made of wood and hog panels, and she refuses to let us fix it so they won't escape. We're gonna try to do the legal route and collect everything we can, showing that she can't take care of them and won't take care of them, and take it to animal control and law enforcement to try to get them in our name. Any help? I think OP and their partner are going down the right path here. It's gonna have to probably be animal control. I mean, it's not like they can be all vigilante and saddle up on them and break them out of there. At least, not with a very reasonable case for a lawsuit. If you call animal control and there's clear evidence that she's neglecting them, which seems pretty obvious here, they should do something and hopefully they'll help out in trying to get it hopefully in your care, keep it in the family, but if anything, at least they'll go to a better place regardless. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.